Hi there. Thank you so much for listening to Grounded in Maine today. My name is Amy Fagan, and my guest today is Nick Bergman of Peace House Studio in Maine. So, um, and Nick and his wife, Kate,
Kate.
Kate, are making these super cool children's clothes out of cotton, and it's not just children's clothes. I'm going to have Nick tell us about that. So thank you so much for coming here, Nick, and talking to me.
Well, yeah, it's great to be here, and I'm really excited to tell you about Peace House Studio.
Whoop,
Uh,
whoop.
yeah, so our kind of big idea is that we wanted to make a premium product that we would buy back, repair, and resell as used clothing, and through visible mending, give every repurchased item kind of a unique look and a new life with a new family.
Sweet. I love that. I totally love that look with the cool patches and stuff. It's just so, I don't know. I say classy, but that's really my word for just different.
Well,
Um,
it stands out. I mean, it's like kind of what is fast fashion is people want to stand out with a new look, and we provide that through sustainable means.
that's awesome. And so you are using like I wanted I let's see. So you were saying that you guys started this in 2020. We all know
Uh,
what happened then.
yes, we have great timing, and we started our business like a month before the pandemic hit. So we ordered a bunch of fabric out of a company from California and started our business. We're excitedly waiting for it, and the pandemic hit, and we didn't get any of it for at least a year, and even that was only like half the order. And we made another order, or we kept ordering like through that time, like
Right.
every month we'd make a new order to see if something would give us a new message of like, yeah, we have it in stock, we're going to ship it. And of course it took a year, and we made another order right away, and when we got it, and then that didn't ship for another year. So we had like our first two shipments of fabric for 2 years. But it was strange times, and as a small business we just started at tiny markets right here on the streets of Bath. We started at the Art Walk, and at that time Kate was actually like 6 months pregnant. We had two little kids running around us, our other two older children, and we were just kind of sat there and made our first couple of sales. We're like, wow, this is amazing. We made $200 today.
That's awesome. I mean, it's such an encouraging feeling, really. People want that.
Hmm.
And
Well,
it's
and it's a great way to kind of start, and for other small businesses to just kind of get out there and see if your idea works, rather than saying, "Hey, I'm going to throw a bunch of money into this. I'm going to advertise. I'm going to quit my job immediately." Like it's so much better.
right,
Starting small and just testing is what we found helped us quite a bit.
right. That jumping all in is scary.
Yeah,
It
it
could go
certainly
really
is.
badly.
Hmm.
But I respect that a lot because I mean, when I started my jam business, the same time frame, I was working full time. Yes, I was working full time. But so I respect that a lot, and I totally get, the whole back order of products and stuff is oof, that was such a hard time. But
Yeah.
so, and we have some pictures that we're going to share so you guys can see what Peace House Studio is doing. I love the idea. I just love patches, especially. I mean, I would think kids love patches too. Like,
Oh, we do. They love patches, and they also love pockets. That's like one of the on our children's joggers. We've had kids finding out they have nice deep pockets to put everything in, and they just
what
are
in what goes? I was
ecstatic.
going to say what goes in those pockets.
Rocks and sticks and stickers, and I mean we've had so we still do a lot of like in-person shows around Maine and things, and we have kids like basically just kind of take off all their clothes so they can put on their new clothing and start running around with hands in their pockets and singing songs, and it's very adorable and endearing.
Oh gosh, that's so cute. Holy moly. And so are you thinking, as I'm saying, I love the idea of patches and who doesn't love pockets? Oh my gosh. Would you guys expand to bigger people's clothes?
We have actually already expanded into adult sizes. As of Common Ground Fair, which is a huge festival up here in Maine celebrating farming and sustainability and environmental ideas. So that was kind of our big push because we never really intended to actually expand into adult sizes, but we kept hearing from people that like, hey, I would buy this if it was in my size, and I guess
Uh-huh.
we have to go where the audience wants us or the consumer wants us. And I guess what we do that's different than a lot of sustainability companies is not only do we buy back our clothing, but rather than just kind of the brown and beige of sustainability, we have bright colors,
Hmm.
and I think it differentiates us quite a bit than kind of the earth tones that most companies go with.
Right. Well, I think a lot of the things that you guys are doing, you kind of are away from the norm. I mean, the children's clothes grow with the children, which
Mhm.
is unheard of.
Yeah, exactly. It's buying back children's clothing because they grow so quickly, and if you buy really cheap clothing, it's impossible to because they by the time a child's actually outgrowing it, it's either in tatters or uh, so stained. And I guess for us, it doesn't even matter if it's stained. We'll still buy it back and figure out a way to either cut that section out or patch over the top of it because to us that is much more important about keeping our clothes in circulation than just saying this is unwearable.
Yeah. And there's also the personalization part of this. So do you do like uh custom orders?
Well, we don't really do custom orders in the sense that if you say my child is too skinny, can you cut off 2 inches out of the waist? What we do though is for individuals that have a broken limb or limb differences or things of that nature where a child doesn't feel comfortable in their clothes or can't really wear a certain style of clothing, we will through our visible mending service, we can expand a sleeve so it fits a little bit better. Or if you make a new purchase and you say, "Hey, this is what my child deals with," that we can shorten a sleeve or a leg, or so it fits them perfectly, rather than just kind of trying to or the cookie cutter clothing that you find in the big box stores.
Cookie cutter. Or, just totally random
Well,
stuff. I
yeah,
mean,
well, and
that's
I guess
been
that's
my
the thing.
experience.
Yeah, you never know about sizing. I mean, I remember when I was younger, we would go thrifty or to like Goodwill with my parents and things because why not? And we would always laugh about the box size child because you pull out a shirt and it's just kind of a square or, and we'd all have a good laugh and that you still deal with that today. When my parents who were from Wisconsin, where I'm originally from, came to visit, they took my daughters and bought them some sleepwear, and they brought it home, and it is just impossible to get it over their heads even. And like the sleeves feel like they are kind of like the boy from A Christmas Story. They're just like stuck out. And I don't know why my children still try to sleep in them, but I don't understand it.
Oh gosh. Oh my gosh. But so if somebody were to come and say my kid loves, blue flowers or something like that, would you make patches like that, or is that it's not?
We not at this moment because it just we don't know what clothing we're getting back in ever. Uh,
Mhm.
you know what I mean? Like, so we can't be like, hey, yeah, we'll make you this 12 to 18 because people just drop it off to us, like at shows or they send it in. And so the only items that we get back are just what people bring us. So it's really hard for us to kind of control the flow of that. And we've had some people contact us like, hey, I love that dragonfly on that shirt. But to us, that kind of defeats the purpose of the business. That if we're now just designing in a way, what we have is like canvas clothing. We have a very kind of basic pattern with bright colors. When becomes more interesting to everyone when it is patched in a way,
Mhm.
and that is how we want to sell sustainability. Also, is that like, hey, these are unique. This is one, and the way that you're going to get it is by buying used clothing.
Mhm. Yeah. Okay. But so you were telling me about this story about this kid with a broken arm. And so you sort of touched on that a little bit, but so somebody brought you a
Um, yeah,
shirt.
oh, sorry. We were contacted through our Instagram that, hey, my son broke his arm. Could you help me out? Like, it's getting cold outside. Can you uh kind of visibly mend some of his sweatshirts or change them? And we said, well, that's a wonderful idea because we can definitely do that. So she sent them up, and she took a couple of measurements, like the cast size around his hand and things, and we turned one sweatshirt into short sleeve on the cast arm side, and another sweatshirt we expanded out the cuff so he could fit it easily over his hand.
Mm.
Um,
Oh
and
yeah.
yeah, and the great thing is that when he outgrows those or the cast is off, she can send it back to us, and we can put an arm back on with a different color, which changes the entire sweatshirt. And the other one we can cut some stitches out and put that cuff back to the original size.
Super
Or of course, if he outgrows them in the time that from the cast going on and off, we'll take them back and as store credit and resell them to a new family after we fix them up.
right. Wow, that's so cool. I mean, I love the personalization part of it, that you guys are willing to do stuff like that. And I was telling you that, so it's sewing your own clothes is like this lost art in the world. And the fact that there are people that are doing that is just so helpful because otherwise we're contributing to the whole mess with fast fashion. Um, but so you guys are you're about 4 years old, you're 4 years in, and you're now making adult clothes.
Yes, and
I'm
we've
very
expanded
excited
up.
about that.
Yeah, it's we've had a lot of people who were excited about family matching, and yeah, it's great. And I mean, we do make a premium product where it is comfortable, it is long lasting, and the same thing with adult sizes. We will buy those back or visibly mend them if you have a hole in it. Um, or if you just kind of get sick of that color scheme, you can send it back and we'll give you store credit.
Super cool. Oh my gosh. And where did the idea of this come from?
Well, so what happened was when we had first, well, I guess it kind of gets into the story of Kate and I. When we were living out in California together, we had our first child, and we had a stray dog that I had adopted who kept eating the clothing that she would spill food on, and we would always mend it. And so that kind of and we always got compliments on it, and I always thought it just the aesthetics of it was very pleasing and just cool because there's there are so many cultures that really celebrate visible mending. Unfortunately, we are not one of those, so to speak. But and of course, there are some cultures that do. But in general, if your clothes are torn or eaten, you throw them away and you buy something new. But so we mended a lot of those. Several years passed, and we moved back to Maine, and eventually we ended up in Bath, buying a house that had a 700 square foot studio above the garage. So we are a garage startup. And when we decided to start our clothing business, my wife and I were celebrating, and we ended up talking to a gentleman at a pizzeria, and we kind of told him like, "Hey, yeah, we're really excited. We started a business." And he kind of looked at us and smiled and said, "Well, an organic children's clothing business? Yeah, that's great. You should have started that business 20 years ago." And it was just very deflating, to say the least. And but he was correct. I mean, it's a very saturated market. If you type in organic clothing, there will be 1,000 different companies touting their different variations.
Hmm,
So we, for a couple months, I just kind of sat there and thought, like, what could we do that was different? And that's how we came up with the Patches Project. Is just kind of like, hey, well, wait a second, we are doing what we have already. We're doing something already different than
right.
other manufacturers, and by doing it here in America too, it just seems more. Well, it just seems we can cut down our own carbon footprint better because like other companies who are having things made overseas, it just seems uh a bit less enticing that, hey, like, oh, I can get this shipped in, and but now I tear it, and I can fix it, but your carbon footprint isn't actually being limited that much, compared to like trying to source it from around here. I don't know if that makes a whole lot of sense, but
No, totally. But I love that. I think that I love that story because it's so shoot, I had the same thing happen to me when I was starting my jam business. Someone was like, 99% of small businesses fail within the first year. And I just dug in my heels. I'm like, I refuse to fail. And
mhm,
so I sank a lot of money into that because everything was super expensive during the pandemic. But
mhm.
that's so it's so hard. And I have so much respect for you guys for sticking with it and just pivoting however you needed to get out there. I I didn't realize that organic children's clothing was that big of a thing. Um,
Yeah, well, I mean, it's organic. Everything is a thing these days, and it's unfortunately a very loaded word now. If you really start delving into what organic means, we are actually at this point possibly pivoting away from organic altogether, and looking at more of a traceability for of our cotton, and really trying to source it here in America all around, because at the moment our cotton comes from India and it says organic, but if you actually start looking at what that means, it's very hard to tell. It's a really is a black box, and it does have a certification, but the certification is on a piece of paper that is completely untraceable. So, and if you start looking at, or reading into what happens overseas, they call it the paper trade, where basically they police themselves, and these like GOTS and other organizations do the best that they can, but they can't be everywhere at once. So what they're finding, like in 2020, got uh, real through their investigations found that 20,000 tons of cotton was actually mislabeled, or fraudulently labeled, I should say, not mislabeled. So, and right now we're living in a world where there's more organic, so-called organic cotton clothing being made than there is actual organic cotton being grown. So, and that's where we, as a small business, we don't have the financial reserves to say, hey, we're going to work directly with farmers in India, or we have to put our trust in these organizations. But to us, sustainability means so much more than just environmental, like it's social and economic sustainability. And so we are looking at pivoting towards uh, supporting more cotton growth here in America, and along with that, reducing our own carbon footprint, because of course, having it not shipped across the seas, overseas, like I was kind of stating with these other companies who have cotton clothing made overseas, we can kind of cut that out of our own supply chain, as a domestic build business trying to build supply chain, a unique supply chain of our own.
wow. And so were you saying, Nick, that so you get your cotton from India, but then you said it's milled in California?
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah,
So yeah, so
that's a long way.
it is a long way, and it's milled there and dyed in California. We have some really wonderful companies we're working with there, and then it's shipped to us from California, which again is a much further, another long shipment. And what's really cool is we actually found a family business in Massachusetts that we're getting our prints made from. So, and it's like, and that's what's really fun about the business, is the kind of the people you meet as you're building this network that you're inventing. You just
Mhm.
kind of, I guess you have to be comfortable with cold calling.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, it's you just have to say, we would love to work with you. We're doing something that would use your product and or your manpower type of thing, I guess, we'd love to work together and
Hmm.
something special. And who wouldn't want that?
Yeah, well, and it's really cool. Our prints as well. We're finding different artists. We have we worked with Wyatt Hersey, who's a wonderful muralist in California. So we have two prints of his out right now. And then we're in the process of getting two new prints with artists, one in Sweden and one in Australia, that we'll be releasing at some point next year. But what really happens is people just kind of like the idea that we have, that like it is different. It's not just saying, hey, put your pattern on these clothing. It's like this clothing will live on, and the pattern will change over time, because as people wear it, it's going to get everyone's going to wear it differently. And so one kid who puts a hole in his knee, on his left knee, another kid is going to put stains all over it. And so that's kind of what drives the design process of reversible mending. It's just the aesthetics of play.
Yeah, that's fun. I think that's a great idea. I really do. I mean, I love that you guys are reaching out to other people, especially like Massachusetts is so close.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah,
that's
well, and
cool.
we're having our growing pains together. I mean, which is really interesting as well, because they're a small family business doing things that another lost kind of printing process that was outsourced to other companies. And the reason that we really want to stay domestic for all these reasons is that, or I'm sorry, the reason that we want to stay domestic is because there are environmental rules here in America that we know that they're not, when we get something dyed, we know that they're not just turning their hose into the local river and just pouring out the byproduct.
Right.
And same thing with our printers in Massachusetts, is that they're not. Have a standard, and they can trace that, and there are penalties if they are doing something incorrectly.
Mhm.
Where once again, going back to organic, we can't trace that over there. We and as we all know, there are some horrific instances of fires in different factories, kind of like basically a mirror of what America went through in the 19 in the turn of the 20th century.
Right. My goodness. Yes. So many, so many things are just out of our control if it's so far away. You just can't see it. You don't have any, there's nothing you can do. Somebody says it's organic, someone says it's sustainably sourced and whatever, like, and you just have to trust that. And
Hmm.
that's hard, it's hard to do. It's also hard when you hear that is not how you expected.
Hmm.
Um,
Well, and
there's just so
along with
much out of our hands.
sorry, I'm so sorry about that. But yeah, it wasn't just ethically made. Because the reason that we have cheap clothing is that the labor costs, they can pay people so little for labor that they can keep your clothing cheap. And so a lot of these places that you buy cheap clothing, is you are getting that at the cost of somebody's labor.
Mhm. Right. Oh, that's a tough thing to take on. Yeah. Oh gosh. Um, shoots. So let's see. You're thinking about working in it's South Carolina, you said, right? The company
Hmm.
that you're the growers. And so what is next? What's going to be next for
For us, I mean, right now we are just trying to grow. Our goal is to build a factory here in Maine, and to hopefully start wholesaling and spread kind of what we do for our business, the buyback program. And I'm actually heading down to Atlanta to a wholesale kind of uh, uh, Atlanta Apparel in February, and to meet with a bunch of other businesses and hopefully get the orders up, that we can get the financing to build a business, or a bigger business than just Kate and I. Because the hard part about manufacturing clothing is it is very labor intensive, and it takes a very unique skill set that has kind of been lost here in America.
right? Yeah, as we were saying. And that's so how you're looking, are you looking in Maine or are you looking elsewhere to just source the labor out?
No, we'd like to build it here in Maine. I mean, it's for us, sustainability is more than environmental. I'm not certain if I said that before, but it is social and economic. And I mean, and I mean, just being living in a democracy, if we hollow out all the jobs, you're going to have a weak democracy. With a if we can pay people well, we have a better society. If we have a better society, we can live in a cleaner environment because you have a society that cares about the environment.
Mhm.
And I guess that's how I kind of look at life. That it, it, yeah, I don't want to get in. I don't know if this is a philosophy podcast, but it's just how I kind of view it. Is that like if people have meaningful work and they think that they're making a difference and they're paid well, then they're going to be happier at their lives. They're going to raise better children, and we're going to have a better society as a whole.
Yep, I agree with that 100%. So let's see. I know we've been throwing the word around a lot, but so when I say the word sustainability, Nick, where is that for you?
Um, it's a really difficult question because, and I think it's really tied into the word organic because when people think organic, they think that that means sustainability when it really doesn't. Um, Organic is just kind of saying, hey, there's no pesticides used. It was grown without GMOs. It was grown, and everyone kind of knows what that means. But sustainability is how are you actually taking care of your product? Is it being ethically made? Is it being ethically sourced? Is it then being at the end of its life, how is it being taken care of? I mean, what if we lived in a world where Pepsi actually cared about all the plastic bottles that they put out there, or Coke?
Mhm.
I mean, and that's kind of unfortunately we don't live in that world, and that's what we're trying to do with our brand is that we do care about our products. We think that they have inherent value, and if we can repair them in unique ways, they might even people might value them even more because they have a story to tell and they are unique.
Oh boy, there's stories for sure. I mean, I can just imagine, having a piece of this clothing and being like, I wonder how many people wore this before and what they were
Hmm.
doing in it. And were they playing on the playground or were they, digging in the dirt, try to make
Hmm.
up those stories?
Yeah, well, and that's what's great. And there's other brands that are doing that and kind of like trying to pass it on and things, but we're trying to take a very proactive way of doing that compared to just kind of saying, "Hey, here's a tag and look at this is the child who had it first and pass it on." We really want to have a hand in making sure that we can get every last thread out of it in a way. I mean, some of the clothing that we've gotten now, there's been items that I'm like, that's not going to be able to be repaired, is it? And Kate has always kind of found a way to patch it up. And the couple items that we have received now, we're just like, "Ugh," we will cut them up and we can use the other parts of it to patch new clothing or
Right,
that we receive. So we can still stretch out its life much longer than just kind of taking it to Goodwill and hoping that it makes it onto a rack rather than being sent overseas into a dump.
right. It's just not usable as the same thing, but it can be. I love that. I mean, I really do. That's, it's not a piece of clothing anymore, but it will be attached to some other piece
Well,
of clothing.
and we've actually have saved pretty much every scrap we've ever had from all of our fabric, and we have, if we can ever uh, start the business that way we want to, we're gonna start releasing scrap products as well, like little scrap undies and little scrap and basically anything else that we can really kind of think of. I mean, that's the great part of doing something creative like this is that there is no limit to what you can actually do if you care, I guess. It just you just have to have the idea to make it.
Totally. Oh my gosh, that's so cool to use the little scraps. And then, so I just want to say to folks that are listening, if you are in Maine and you sew clothes, or if you have sewing skills, definitely reach out to Nick and Kate. But so, how can people find you, Nick?
You can find us on Instagram at Peace House Studio. We also have a Facebook page. and then go to our website, peacehealthstudio.com. We have an email address on there and a phone number, of course. And yeah, we send us some messages. We would love to chat. Yeah, and hopefully in the future we'll be looking for experienced sewers who want to help with a sustainable company.
Super cool. All right. Anything else that you want to add before we close up?
No, I just think, well, I hope we can cut that part out. I just think that as a consumer, people have to be more aware that what a actually kind of look at what sustainability means when it comes to a product. That don't just take the organic label and think that it is the uh, means that it is completely or the best item. Can I start that over?
Yes.
um, uh, I guess my last thought is that sustainability is so much more than just being organic. That there are companies out there that really care about their products and the lifetime of their products, rather than just slapping a label that says organic on it and and really just saying, yeah, and greenwashing everything else. Because that's really what we're dealing with in this industry is that organic is now a marketing term and it sells really well.
Right. Yeah. And I mean I've definitely mentioned that before, not necessarily about clothes, but like just to be mindful about your purchases and, if you have the chance to do some research about the companies
Hmm.
and, you know,
Well,
just that in mind.
and with clothing especially, I mean, buying less, buying better, and buying secondhand. I mean, really, we do make new clothes because we want to be CPSC compliant, and the however we can maintain our CPSC compliance because we can trace our clothing. So when we get clothes back, we can still continue that CPSC or uh have that CPSC compliance. But really, the best way to cut your carbon footprint down is to buy secondhand clothing.
Mm, yeah, for sure. And what is CPSC? What does that stand for? Of
It's child protection. Can I look it up here for a second? I always forget that acronym.
course. And what's GOP? What is GOPS?
GOTS is the, hold on a second here. I wrote that down. GOTS is the Global Organic Textile Standard.
Oh, okay.
And CPSC is the pro Process Safety Professional Certification. Certified Process Safety, yeah, something like, hold on a second. There's so many different CPSCs. I am so sorry. Children's Product Certificate.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, sorry about that. There's so many acronyms out
Of
there
course.
that it's very impossible. It's very difficult to find them.
Yeah. All right. Great. Well, shoot, this is awesome. I'm so thrilled to learn more about this, Nick. And thank you so much for telling us about this. And folks, the links are going to be in the show notes, so definitely check this out. They do ship. You do ship?
Yes, we ship anywhere in the United States. We have not gone international yet because we have this funny kind of thing that yeah, we love our clothes, but we're just like, does somebody really want to pay $20 in shipping to actually send it to overseas? So we haven't gotten that far yet. Maybe someday.
Okay. So definitely check them out. Peace House Studio, Instagram, and I assume it's the same on Facebook.
Yeah, Peace
Yeah.
House at Peace House Studio. Of course, it's not the same tag, but yeah, just check out Peace House Studio and you'll find us.
Okay. Super. Thank you again, Nick. This has been fascinating, and I love your products. They're super duper cute, and kids must just love wearing them, and it must feel good being, cotton. But thank you very much for hanging out with me today. I so appreciate that.
Oh, thank you so much. It's been a lot of fun.
Yay.